Did you know that Thomas the Tank Engine was not supposed to be an E2 tank engine? Well, allow me to explain to you why and what engine he was supposed to be and what it is. Thomas the Tank Engine was originally made as a toy for Reverend's son Christopher Audrey when he was a child. The toy was made using parts from a broomstick and were cut and carved to mimic that of a shape of a steam locomotive, similar to that of an LNER j50. After Reverend made his Thomas toy for Christopher and decided to turn it into a character as part of his Railway series stories, he turned to illustrator Reginald Payne to illustrate Thomas into his books. Sadly, it didn't go the way Reverend Audrey wanted it to, and Reginald Payne, for being a Southern man, drew Thomas to be more of like a E2 class tank engine rather than a J50, like how Reverend Audrey originally wanted Thomas to be. But content with the illustration, Reverend went with it, and that's how Thomas looked for the remainder of the Railway series. But what on earth is an LNER J50? The LNER J50s were a class of 060 tank engines, meaning they had no trailing wheels, no leading wheels, but only 6 driving wheels. These engines were intended for heavy goods work on the LNER, designed by Sir Nigel Gresley himself, and were really powerful locomotives, classified as 4Fs, with an incredible amount of pulling power at 23,636 pounds of force compared to the E2s as 3Fs that only have 21,307 pounds of force. That's a lot of pulling power for an 060 tank engine. 52 of these mighty tank engines were built to serve nearly every corner of the LNER alongside their similar cousins, the LNER J51s, which had slightly smaller boilers than them. Sadly though, not a single one of these locomotives, be they J50 or J51, survived in their preservation. There were plans at one point to rebuild a class of the locomotive, but the plans were ultimately cancelled. But all parts made for the J50 will be reused and used for the making of other LNER locomotives. Now for my reasons on why I want an LNER J50 rebuilt and restored. As mentioned before, since Thomas was at first supposed to be a J50, having a J50 dressed up as Thomas for a Dad with Thomas event will make kids ask questions on why Thomas looks the way he does. And for us Thomas fans, we get to explain it to kids why Thomas looks like that at the event. Then they'll be interested to know more about the character and the Railway series, possibly making them become even more interested to Thomas, and then making a whole chain of events to make little kids get interested to real-life railways and railway preservation as well. While at the same time, us older fans who are teenagers and adults can just have something else to enjoy for fun's sake, because me personally, I think it's kind of awesome Thomas was a J50 at some point in his life and timeline. Well, if it weren't for the brilliant mind of Reverend Audrey, Thomas wouldn't have the crazy, stories he's having now. Except for the infamous reboot I shall never say the name of again on this channel. With all that aside, here's my second reason why I want a J50 restored. There were plans at some point to rebuild and restore one, or better yet, preserve one, but sadly those plans never came into fruition. And personally, I really hate the fact that the plans never went into fruition. Luckily though, all parts made for the J50 will be reused for other LNER locomotives that trusts such as the Tornado one, who are currently rebuilding a P2 from the ground up and hoping to run on the main line sometime, are doing right now. But I just find it very ridiculous that they just gave up on restoring a J50. That would have been so awesome, having the original Thomas the Tank Engine in preservation for us to go see in real life on a preservation railway. Although, let's keep in mind, just because the plans were stopped does not mean we can bring a J50 back. Who knows? Maybe the A1 Trust will go back and rebuild a J50 for a tourist railway. Or perhaps some nice feller here on YouTube may as well come up with some awesome plan to restore a J50. Who knows? Maybe it's even me who might restore the J50. I don't know. I'd love the honor though, because I tell you what, if I do rebuild a J50, who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Only time can tell. I would definitely love to use a lot of the parts and features to rebuild an E2 so that the E2 can run and perform better than it did when it was in service. Because I love the E2s and the J50s, and I wish the E2s performed better. All at the same time, I am very grateful the J50s were outstanding performers. And there you have it, guys. All 3 of my reasons for why I want an LNER J50 rebuilt and restored. And a huge thank you goes to all my subscribers who support the channel, such as Coal Bunker Branchline. And if you want your name to be mentioned at the end of my videos, please name yourself down into the comments below, but don't use your real name just in case, please. Although remember, you have to be a subscriber if you want your name to be mentioned at the end of my videos. But all in all, I thank you guys so much for watching, and one of these days, I promise you, once my 3D printer's fixed up and ready to roll, I will love to make an LNER J50 for Gauge 1. But until next time, this is your grateful host, Levi, signing off, and I bid you all a fond farewell, and please have it awesome. Bye!